Tigers performed well. I think they were 17 out of 18 the whole day, 9 for 9 live. So they had a good day, much better day. Now it's time to talk about them for a second. I thought the offensive line protected pretty well. We had a lot of explosives on offense. I thought the defense stopped the run fairly well, and I thought the defense had an excellent day in the red zone, particularly the tight red zone. They did give up some explosives. It's always give and take in training camp, but they gave up some explosives. But I thought they refocused and did a great job close to the goal line. On the flip side, the offense needs to learn to start punching those in with touchdowns. So, but there was some good give and take.
Last week, Coach Patterson said that he didn't want to jinx himself, but he thought after the first scrimmage that the defense tackled well. And you said the defense did some good things on Saturday. How would you say their tackling has been, and what's your belief in what they can do in that regard?
A good amount of improvement in that area, Don, since spring. I think it's been a big focus of our individual drills, which you guys have seen a decent amount of. But the tackling will be key to the defense's success this year. I mean, the yards after contact is a huge stat for us defensively, which leads to explosive plays or limiting explosive plays. So it's a key part of playing great defense, and it'll be a major challenge, and it'll be interesting to see how we stack up in the Big 12.
And a quick follow-up on the kickers. So who in that group was most responsible for making those field goals, or who looked best of those
All
guys?
of them. 17 for 18. They all made them.
Three. What was the longest? Who made anybody?
That's
make
a solid
50-yarder
question. No 50-yarders. We didn't attempt any. Yeah.
So that battle is still kind of
Still going. Yeah.
Coach,
No decisions there yet.
Coach, how's the health coming out of the second scrimmage? Just the injuries we kind of knew about going into it?
Good day to day with a lot of training camp injuries. But we've avoided season-ending injuries for the most part. We have a couple young players that'll be out for probably the year. Gilbert Benamy and Cameron Cantrell, both with surgeries this week. Cameron had a collarbone, Gilbert has a shoulder. So unfortunately for those guys, they'll be missing the year. But right now it's training camp guys, getting guys back this week. We've got a few that have sat out the last few practices that would have gone had we, it'd been game week. But this will be a key week to get a lot of guys back, and we're going to have to do some extra conditioning with some guys.
What has Terrence Steele been able to do, and is he going to be ready for first game?
To be determined. Yeah, but he's practicing still in a limited role.
You mentioned inability to punch it in during the scrimmage. Was that on the ground? And if so, is that partially because of not having enough bodies that you expect to be there as far as health-wise?
A little bit. You don't want to put the entire onus on them, but I think it was just a little bit all the way around. There were a couple times we missed some passes too in there, so hard to pinpoint just one thing, but I think certainly that has to be factored into.
How has the interior linemen looked? Like those guys you mentioned, the offensive line looking good Saturday.
I think the biggest thing with those guys is, Dawson and Jack didn't have spring ball, so they're really 15 practices in at this point into our offense, and they have. It's different playing in it and playing this fast in our offense than standing, 15 yards behind the huddle and watching it. And so they've, you've seen them, their production increase and their knowledge, but also part of playing O-line is the communication and the communication factor, and it just takes reps and it takes time. The Weston Wright, Madison still battling for the other guard spot really right now. So I like where those guys are at, but it just continues to take time and reps with those guys, especially Jack and Dawson, just because they missed spring.
What do you think Bowman's relationship with them has been like this camp? Are those guys close?
I don't hang out with them all on Friday night.
No.
No.
Do you think they played well enough to give him confidence to step up in the pocket a lot more in the season?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I think he likes them, to answer your first question. But, yeah.
Coach, throughout kind of fall camp, you've been mentioning we're not even thinking about Montana State. At what point do you guys start focusing on them, and what are the last couple of days of focus up until that point going to be?
Yeah, we start really knee deep into Montana State this weekend, but there'll be some things that we do over the next 2 or 3 days that will start heading us in that direction in terms of Montana State. Already game planned them. Over the summer, we'll finalize the game plans in the next 4 or 5 days as a staff, and so at night we start working on it a whole lot more. The players aren't really in tune to that, but it starts kind of heading that direction these next few days. But we will it'll be full throttle this weekend.
The last couple of days going into a game week, what do you want to kind of accomplish? Is it just fine-tuning things?
We have a lot of situational football still to be practiced. We have good on good still to be practiced. We still have position battles. There's a ton.
Which position group has improved the most during fall camp?
You know what? Hard to pinpoint one. I'll mention one because the two guys I think have had really good training camps, especially the last 8 or 9 days, is at corner Zach McPherson and the progress that he's made since he first got in here. DeMarcus Fields has practiced really, really good. Dez has, I think, kept up where he was in the spring, and John Davis had a really good spring. So I think that there's been improvement made there at corner. You know, seeing the play of our H's, our inside receivers, Rigdon, Mannix, Xavier White. I mentioned him a week ago, and here I am mentioning him again. He's in the conversation for playing time. And so I think that position gives us a little bit more than we maybe thought coming out of spring. So I would say improvement there as well.
Who are your leading candidates for your return jobs upon return? Kickoff?
Right now it's by committee, Don, 2 weeks out. We haven't solidified who the starters are, and we actually may rotate, and I've done that in the past, rotated guys early in the year.
Who's in that mix?
Yeah. Which one?
Upon return?
Fry, McPherson, Chooks, kickoff return, Coleman, Tayshawn, Keyshawn, a lot of Shawns, Rabbit,
Who?
Squirrel, Dadrion Taylor.
Oh.
I'm being serious. Why y'all think I'm joking?
Coach, have you seen Jackson Tyner kind of progress from his first scrimmage season?
There's another one. Jackson is starting to earn trust with the staff. He's a very smart young man. He's picked up what we've done very quickly. Still not where he needs to be. He would be the first to tell you in terms of his knowledge. But what you've got is a guy that's been able to take the entire installation and actually operate the offense with the 2s and with the 3s, but decently efficient for a guy that just got here days before training camp started. And now when you get into a game week, the installation or the game plan goes from this much offense to that much, and then you start fine-tuning during the week. So, you know, he's a smart young man, and I'm glad he's on our team.